Hi, Vidya and Manan. I'm happy to have you here on the Small Prince edition of the India Global Business. Thank you for joining me here and thank you for agreeing to do this important interview with me.
Hi, Param. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having.
Yeah,
Our pleasure.
it's our pleasure and it's always good to speak to you, Param.
Sure. And for the record, this is not going to be your usual video with Manan Desai and Vidya Desai. This is going to be much more technical in nature, but it's going to be quite interesting as well.
Yes.
First question. You both started with the radio industry. You were doing pretty well in that. You were probably a name in yourselves in what you were doing. And all of a sudden, you guys decided to quit. It's like quitting at the top of your career and started this startup called the Comedy Factory. Tell me more about this idea of Comedy Factory and where did it all start and the journey so far?
I think the Comedy Factory, we both were working as a radio jockey in a leading radio stations in Gujarat. And, it happened that, Manan has always had that, funny bone and he wanted to do comedy shows. So basically he was that friend who always makes you laugh when we are all together. So he has always been that funny comedian otherwise, but he wanted to do a comedy show for strangers, like not friends. So that was in his to-do list. So we said that, like, why are we waiting for any of that opportunity to come? So I produced a show. It was a friends cafe, and we did a 50 capacity seater show. We did a poster. So the poster was we had to make a poster, right? Because it was on Sunday and we are
Absolutely.
calling people the ticketed show. So we had to name something. So first thing was like, what are we going to name the first show of the comedy stand-up comedy show by Manan Desai? So then Manan came up with the name that let's the poster, the show name will be the Comedy Factory. So it's like,
Interesting.
great, let's do this. And we did a 50 seater show in a cafe, which was overcrowded and oversold, and we sold 65 tickets. And
Okay.
people gave tremendous beautiful response that something like this was happening in Baroda. And it's like, don't make it just one show, but we want to happen, we want to come to this show every month. So they pushed us, and at that time we were working with radio. So we started doing, every 2 months we started doing comedy shows. And then we had decided that whenever we are doing really good with stand up comedy, we will quit the job with radio. So that happened very soon. I think, 1.5 year of
Yeah.
span, we decided that now
2 years
it's.
for me, 1 year for you.
Yes, so then we were like, let's totally focus on the Comedy Factory. And we that's how it's all began.
So that's how it began. And then it was all just for, a creative satisfaction. But
Okay.
once we started enjoying it, we started taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
once we started taking it seriously, then there was no looking back. Because for us, that switch was very important. We had technically decided that we were getting some amount from our radio jobs, and we had decided ki if we get that kind of amount or that kind of rewards and awards from doing comedy, we'll quit this and we'll just then pursue comedy as a career. And that happened within 2 years. Once we started, because we were not giving comedy that much time and we were
Right.
giving radio full time,
Okay.
so comedy was part time. But when
Right.
that part-time job was giving us more rewards and awards more than our full-time job, we decided, okay, this is the time when we have to switch. And after that switch, there was no looking back. We started doing shows not just in Baroda. We started in Ahmedabad, Surat, Rajkot, Bhavnagar, Vapi, Jamnagar. So these prime cities in Gujarat, and Gujarat being a dry state, which means that liquor is prohibited in Gujarat, still we managed to make live entertainment space so fruitful. Because whenever we want to go for a live show, let it be a music concert or let it be any
Absolutely.
form of live entertainment, you would want a glass with you, or you would want to, feel good and feel happy high. And that's what
Right.
we see all over the world, all over the globe. But here in Gujarat, your main high is the entertainment. Your main substance of enjoyment is the piece of entertainment that you are going to watch on stage. And that made it more interesting. The whole perspective of just going out to watch a live entertainment show is what actually pushed us to do more. So we started hosting for other comedians from
Okay.
all over the world as well, not just me or not just our team, the Comedy Factory. Slowly and gradually I started asking my friends. Then we started having auditions, open mics, and we grew as a team. So not just our team, which is a homegrown team, but we also started hosting for stand-up comedy shows with popular comedians like Veer Das, Abhishek Upmanyu, Zakir Khan. These are some big names in India and all over
Absolutely.
the world with the Desi community. So we really enjoyed that process, and we were not just the biggest hosts of the biggest live concerts, comedy concerts, you could call it, but we were also growing our footprints, as in we were making our presence felt on the digital front as well, wherein we started giving because we were dependent completely on the digital marketing. we
Yes.
we are not that kind of a startup who would afford big hoardings and big at that point of time. Now we
Right.
can, but at that point of time we were not able to afford hoardings or newspaper ads. We used to think a lot
I'm
before
sure.
making those newspaper ads for our live shows, because we wanted new audience all the time. Our present audience has always been constant. The patrons that we have, 50% of our patrons are regular patrons, and the rest 50 keeps interchanging. It's like that. And that feels really good for us to have that retainer with our audience base. But unfortunately, because of the whole pandemic situation, we have not been able to host live shows, and we have kind of shifted a little bit into more digital presence and a more diverse digital presence, which I will of course tell you as we carry on with this
Sure.
conversation. But just to wrap up this conversation up, is that we are really fortunate to get a lot of support from within the community of comedians in India. They have, in the beginning, most of them have not even thought of a lot of times they used to tell me ki, it's okay if we don't get that much amount of money, but we are happy to perform for the Comedy Factory. And
Interesting.
fortunately, because of that push from within the community, today we are all sort of we are the pioneers, but at the same point of time we are able to sort of walk hand in hand, and we have reached to a point wherein we have made a good significant difference in uh, the overall live entertainment space in Gujarat.
Quite interesting. So, from being radio jockeys to life partners to now co-founders of a successful startup, quite
Yeah.
a journey that both of you have had. But I'm going to divert a bit from your journey and go to more intricacies of the business itself. Um,
Okay.
you are a creative sector startup. So, one of the most important aspects for you is protection of your IP or your intellectual property, especially in this day and age where content is being created by the minute, be it apps, be it other social media channels. Practically every house now has a content creator, as they call themselves.
Yeah.
Whether we qualify them as content creator is a different story. But what I'm interested more is to understand about how important is it for creative startups like yours to protect intellectual property, and startups per se. I'm sure they don't look at intellectual property as an important aspect of the business, but it definitely is. And can you share your experiences on why is it important?
So see what we feel and we strongly feel about this is that creative startups is something that people do not pursue creative and startup itself is kind of counterproductive terminology because when you are
Absolutely.
creative, you got to show business on paper, and in creative business, it's really difficult to show numbers on the paper. It is kind of a investment. It's a long term investment. It's not your cryptocurrency kind of an investment wherein your monies will double in a year or two.
Absolutely.
Creative startups are basically creating legacies. And what we strongly felt, because we belong to a Gujarati background and we have seen business all around us while growing up. Even though Vidya is a South Indian, but she has she has been
Brought
brought
up in
up in
Gujarat.
Gujarat. So, more or less, she understands the Gujarati aspect of Gujarat. So, we have already seen the real estate or the stock market or these kind of sectors growing, and most of Gujaratis investing in these sectors. But
Absolutely.
we have hardly seen Gujaratis investing in the creative sector.
Yes.
And that is something because my father was a musician, and Vidya also had certain musical, or you could say artistic genes in her overall, and that's why we joined in the radio industry, and then later on we started doing things on our own. So I think it's very important for creative startups to understand that it's not about the monetary returns that we are signed up for. It's more than that. It's about the cultural expansion of Gujaratis and Indians, as in just overall. Because in the name of creativity in Gujarat, we have at the most Garba, and the movie industry and the music industry is just started to grow. We are at a very
Absolutely.
nascent or an infant stage, and
Hmm.
it's going to take decades of mehnat or hard work, you could say. Then we'll reach to a point wherein we could say, okay, we made like a 5% difference to what it has been. So because, as you said, that the content generation is so fast, it's very important to preserve what you have created. And unfortunately, in India overall, um, people do not understand at a point in time that there are things like plagiarism. There are things like, people have that mentality that it's okay if we lift this up and kind of mash it with our thing. It's, well, how much of a difference does it make? And we see a lot of these things in FMCG sector, wherein there are restaurants and there are other cafes who write below their names, established in so and so year.
Right.
Hamari koi aur shakha nahi. We don't have any other branches, and that's a
Right.
very Indian thing.
I know.
Because what happened at that time and age is that people used to literally copy what is going on. That's been the
Absolutely.
Indian business mentality, has always been like that. Ki, okay, this is working in the market. Let's just pick it up and we'll try to mix match our creative mind and try to do it our way. But at the end of the day, the core idea or the core name or the core business working is of somebody else. So, I mean, pardon my, you could say, I don't want to jump the gun, but the problem has been that Gujaratis, whatever works overall, or for that matter, Indians also, that okay, there's a lot of business in real estate. So let's invest
Right.
in real estate. Let's invest in gold. Let's invest in stock market. But when it comes to crypto, or when it comes to more modern approach towards investment, people are a little hesitant.
Right.
They want others to burn their hands before they burn their hands.
They want to play it safe, basically, as
Ah,
you notice.
they want to play it safe, but at the same point of time, they want to play it dirty as well. So,
Yeah. Okay.
so that's the whole
Interesting.
point. That why do we see shop names, or why do we see brands which has written established since so and so date, and we do not have any other branches? Why do we see that? And we have seen that maximum in the Indian cultural context only. And that is the reason why creative startups have to preserve their rights. Um, and your company name is your biggest asset. That's
Right.
how people will recognize you, and people will understand what you have created over a period of time. Your work is going to speak for itself, but your brand is going to advertise it.
Like when we started the Comedy Factory in 2011, we came up with this name, the Comedy Factory.
Yeah.
So we were the first of group of comedians who started doing comedy entertainment shows in Gujarat, right?
Mm.
Be it digital or doing live shows. So this was unique in its own way. The name
Mm.
or the company or the thing, things that entertainment things that we were doing, we were unique in our own way. So it was really very important that whatever we do or we create in terms of digital, that has a scope, that we think that has a scope of changing the whole vision of comedy, should always be registered under intellectual property rights. So that was the first thing, that we created our logo, we created our name. So it is very important that we decided, and thankfully we had that legal support system at the right time, wherein we have our sports and entertainment lawyer who helped us, that we should ideally go for, because like the first YouTube video that came was Cutco from our channel, which
Yes.
became massively viral. It went on WhatsApp, it went on, it was quite viral in all different age group, and people started referring, like Cutco, the Comedy Factory, the Comedy Factory Cutco. So all those terms and words that were being used were quite unique, and because we totally believe in, it's our intellectual property, we wanted to preserve it and make it sure that nobody misuses it. And as and when we used to get it registered, so that was a thing that we decided that let's go ahead and get registered the Comedy Factory under trademarks law. So that happened, and thankfully it happened for all good reasons.
No, I know what you're heading towards, and that's what my next question was. That you recently had a situation which was literally like a David versus the Goliath story, and you could successfully protect your intellectual property against one of the leading and the largest Indian media conglomerate. Tell us more about that whole issue, and how did it all go for you guys?
Um, well, it's a very interesting story or a process that we have been through in this entire situation, and it we can actually create a movie in itself
Yeah, I
about
know.
this.
It's the script is perfect for a Bollywood masala movie.
Yeah, and I think it has all the right notes during the entire process. We have hit the right notes. There are a lot of peak points. There are a lot of low points as well. So it was a roller coaster ride the last
Okay.
2.5 months for both of us. Um, so it all started when uh, we saw, because we at the Comedy Factory, all of us, we follow this hashtag the Comedy Factory and hashtag Comedy Factory. So Google or any other social media, they tell us that who is using these hashtags, who are using these keywords. So we saw one of those gossip channels promoting the same, and then a fan also sent us couple of messages in our Instagram and different social media saying that so and so channel is using your name. So that's a good thing. They don't understand trademark or IPR, but they understand that something is going wrong in this situation, wherein some big entity is taking up a name of a entity like us, which is an homegrown company from Gujarat. So then I directly got in touch with somebody I know, because I myself have worked for that particular channel
Production house.
Interesting.
and that production house as well. So the production house, so there is a production house and there is a channel. So production house makes a show,
Right.
creates the show and sells it to the channel. And the
Absolutely.
channel out and out buys it out and takes all the IP and takes the complete ownership of that particular show.
Right.
And the production house gets their fees or their cost or whatever is attached to it. So I called that production house. That production house had previously hired me for two shows.
Okay.
One of them was on other channel, and one of them was for the channel we went up against recently in
Okay.
the court. So obviously the channel and the production house already knew of our existence. They knew where I come from. They already know what process do we go through. So, of course, just cutting back to the first answer which Vidya gave is that when we were naming the show, The Comedy Factory, later on we decided to adapt that name as the name of the company. Now, when you are naming your child or your company or a product, the first thing you would do is do a simple Google search.
Agreed.
And when you do a simple Google search of the Comedy Factory or Comedy Factory without the
Yeah.
even if you Google Comedy Factory, the entire first page just had our results. And for the first 10 pages, 90% of the search result was just our company or works attached to our company, basically. So when you do a simple Google search, you will come to know where our company stands. And unfortunately, the channel did not do a simple Google search. Chalo,
Or someone just did not refer to the Google search. Would have done, but probably just left it on its
yeah,
own.
I mean, I'm ready to believe that you don't know where I come from, or you don't understand what I used to do, or you must have forgotten about it. But you could have done just a simple Google search
Agreed.
before naming your show. In fact, they were going to call the show The Comedy Factory before, but
Okay.
after we had sent an official email to them, and after we sent them
Official
an official
notice.
notice to them, they decided to change the name of the show, their house mark, the TV name, the TV channel's name, and Comedy Factory. So
Right.
basically XYZ Comedy Factory, right? So, but still, it was infringement of our rights,
Absolutely.
and we gave them a sort of a heads up that this is still not okay with us, and we might pursue this in court. They still did not change it, and then they officially made an announcement, because before they make an announcement we can't file a lawsuit, because they could tell
Agreed.
the
It
court.
has to come in public domain.
Yeah, they could tell the court that it was not publicized by us, it was publicized by these news channels or gossip tabloids and stuff like that. So once they made an official announcement in the first week of July, we were already in touch with our legal team in Mumbai and in Vadodara. Everybody knew what was going on, everybody were on their toes, and then we finally filed for a lawsuit in mid July. And there was a hearing. In the hearing, the channel was given some time to file their reply. When we filed a plaint, we filed it with the Mumbai High Court, because it's very important where you file your plaint.
Hmm.
We wanted to file it in Ahmedabad High Court, but our legal team advised us to file it in Mumbai High Court, because Mumbai High Court is very progressive in these matters, because there are so many
Hmm.
OTT platforms in India now. There are OTT platforms like Amazon, Netflix, and day in day out such cases come to them, and the judges, the bench which sits in Mumbai High Court, they are more aware about such situations. So we decided to file the plaint in Mumbai High Court. uh, his lordship KR Sriram was the individual bench which reviewed our plaint, and he gave an opportunity to the TV channel to file their reply within 5 days. They filed a reply within 5 days with a rejoinder, and then the next Monday, our hearing was heard, and it went on for approximately, if you consider both the days, it went on for about 8 to 9 hours.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so both sides were heard equally. Both the advocates, senior counsels were heard properly, and remarkable. The whole hearing process, I was part of it. I mean, I could listen to it, but I can't speak anything. Uh,
Absolutely.
but I was throughout that hearing, and some valid points were made. So there, the TV channel made an argument that so we are registered under the Trademark Act,
Registry of India.
under the Registry of India, the Government of India, and we are registered under Class 41 label mark, and we have
Hmm.
also applied for word mark. And
Hmm.
people who don't know, trademark registration takes a lot of time. So there
Yes.
are a lot of
Yes.
logos which you will see logos on the side of the logo, you will see TM. So they have
Mhm.
applied for trademark, but when you see a R beside the
That's
logo,
when it's registered.
that's when it's registered.
It took us 4 years to get it registered.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
because what their argument was, the TV channel argued that our logo or our trademark is very descriptive. Comedy factory are common terminologies in the English vocabulary, but they did not realize that over a period of time we have used this particular trademark so extensively that now these words are synonymous to our brand and our
Hmm.
startup, and it has created distinctiveness over a period of time. The first such case or plaint was filed against Cadilla for their usage of trademark sugar free. Sugar
Yes.
free is the most common terminology which you can think of in the English vocabulary. And in terms of overall, also, there are Fair and Lovely is one of the brands, Indian brands, which could be termed as descriptive. But over a period of time, when you use these terminologies and when it becomes synonymous to your workings and your company's achievements, then it creates a distinctiveness. And the Google search result is one of the key factors to that. And that's what our senior counsel, Dr. Birendra Saraf, had pointed out. And His Lordship K.R. Sriram understood that. In fact, there are arguments which are done in the court which were so hilarious at the same point of time, because when you file for such plaints, you have to show everything. You have to show all the,
Absolutely.
and so that you could win the case and you could, it looks good in front of the judge as well. So there was an argument which was done by the defendant's lawyer, senior counsel. He said that their earnings or their revenues are not that big. Now, when a big media house comes up to you and says, "Ki, what is this peanuts earnings? How can you say that you have built a reputation on this kind of a turnover or revenue?" Of course, against that kind of media house, our earnings or our revenue
Obviously,
are
you
not
can't
going to be,
compare.
will be small. So, but His Lordship, Mr. K.R. Sriram was very, and that's one of the statements that he made, which really won my heart. Was he said that you cannot decide a reputation of a company on the basis of the revenue they earn. Maybe they do not know how to earn money or generate revenue, but for somebody, even 10 lakhs is a lot of amount, and for somebody even 500 crores is less.
Absolutely.
So that statement made me realize that the Indian judiciary, a lot of times people complain about it, people say things against it, but this statement in itself proved that the Indian judiciary is not just logical, is not just practical, but at the same point of time they have a human approach towards these kind of situations. And that point I knew that this His Lordship K.R. Sriram is going to take the right decision, even if the decision is against us. I realized, because Vidya and I both were prepared to even lose. And
But go on fighting for something that you created, right?
yeah, yeah, when this whole situation happened, a lot of people told us not to do it.
I'm
It's
sure.
no use. And biggest of names, because we know so many comedians, we know so many people within the industry, so we were taking a lot of advice from them, and most of them told us ki, no, why do you want to do this, why do you want to waste your money, or why do you want to go up against such giants and stuff like that. But Vidya and I firmly believed. We looked at each other and we were like, you want to do this? Yes, we have to do this. And we did it, and we got the support from our inner circle, because that's what's most important, that even if your inner circle says don't go up against it, and when you say you still want to pursue it and still they support you, that means a lot. And our entire team and our entire legal team was always very supportive. And that's the whole thing. When you are a big media house, you would feel that nothing would happen to
You are
us.
untouchable.
Yeah,
No one can do. You can get away with everything and anything, but then, eh, as you rightly said, the legal system in India is not just to protect the large corporates, but also for anyone who has the legal right to it. And you
exactly.
guys are a live example of it. That you guys decided to pursue the case. You got a judgment in your favor.
We did not get an injunction. So here's the tricky part.
Okay.
What had happened was, the the judge was about to make, he
Give the
was
judgment or
give the
decision.
judgment or pass an order, and after 9 hours of hearing, he was about to go and give his order, and at that point of time, the channel decided to give up,
Okay.
because an injunction would primarily mean a lot of public humiliation.
Yes.
So they did not let the court
Give
pass
the
an order
injunction
which
order.
is an injunction order. They
Okay.
said, okay, at the last moment, their advocate stepped in and said, sir, I just received instruction from my client. We are ready to change the name from Comedy Factory to Comedy Karkhana. We disagreed to Comedy Karkhana because it loosely translates in
Yes.
Hindi to Comedy Factory. So we decided at that point of time, Comedy Club, and then they changed it later to Comedy Show.
Okay.
So, and the funny part was that their senior counsel was arguing that Comedy Factory is a very descriptive term, and they themselves had applied for registration for trademark.
Okay. Interesting.
So, so this exposes their integrity in the entire situation. What they
Agreed.
were trying to do, they were trying to manipulate the law, but not just the judge. Any person could see through this,
I'm
because
sure.
what they were trying to do is what we already know at this point in time. So at the
So,
last moment, they stepped in and they said that okay, we are giving up this name and we want to change the name to this. So
okay.
in the order also, uh, I'll share that order with you. It's in
Sure.
public domain.
Sure.
It's written that they are disagreeing to the plaintiff's grievances or their inputs, or what do you call, uh, matlab, from our end, from plaintiff's end, they are
Right.
disagreeing to all our accusations, and
Okay.
they are changing the name.
Changing the thing. Okay. So
So,
they
so
still wanted
basically,
to
so
keep their hand up.
basically, 2 months they could have done this in the first notice itself,
Agreed.
but they did not do it, and that's why the whole thing changed around at the last moment.
But I'm sure, I know one of the key things for every, social media, uh, personality is to have followers and to have viewers. But I'm sure there is one person in you who would be a constant follower of the judge now, uh, given the way you are fond of his judgments and his speeches and his statements in the courtroom.
Right.
Um, one last question before I part, because it's an interesting story. The point you made, the way you defended it, the way you grown the Comedy Factory itself, and you've done enough. You've become a pioneer in regional content creation. Uh, and as you rightly said, the entertainment world in Gujarat was very limited. I've grown up there. I know for us, entertainment was either a circus or going to a park or going to the zoo or once in a while going for a cinema, which was again not Gujarati or regional. But you did give a new lease of life to regional content creation with the brand that you created for yourself. What next? Where do you see the Comedy Factory 5 years from now, and where do you see both of you going from here on?
Okay, so of course, like this was a landmark judgment and maybe a milestone for the Comedy Factory. That next month, that is August 2021, the Comedy Factory is
This month.
completing this month. Yeah, this
Yeah, we're
month.
already in August, by the way.
Already entered August. So this month we are, entering 10th year of the Comedy Factory. So
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So, and with this case, and coming out of, and owning up this whole
We are
situation,
actually completing 10 years and entering into the 11th year. So
11th
it's going
year.
to be a decade of the Comedy Factory.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so nice to hear.
Yes. So I think we are now even after this judgment we have introspected and discussed a lot, and then we personally feel that we have a lot to do, but we are now thinking of, or we are now preparing ourselves to move from Gujarati regional content to going Hindi,
Okay.
and focusing on more on the national, or Hindi language, wherein we can explore more genres and formats, wherein we can create more comedy content there. Also, because we have started doing a lot of branded contents for brands in India after the COVID situation, getting more digital work. So similarly, we are now focusing more on getting more brands with a national zone. So I think we starting 10 years we have done Gujarati. Now I think it's the right time that we start doing more of a Hindi content and create more content in Hindi genre.
Yeah. And Gujarati is always going to be there at core. It's not something like we are going to give up on it, because Vidya and I both are not just about the Comedy Factory. We want to give it back to the community in a much bigger way. We also have our record label called Gunjan Records. And under that music label, we are creating a lot of interesting songs in Gujarati, in bilingual also. We did a song called Apke Sawan, which got millions of hits, which was in Hindi and Gujarati. So we are always going to be attached to our roots. It's not like we are just going to jump over the bridge and then just be in Hindi. We are always going to give back to the community. And I think a lot of credibility, because what we realize in this 10 years is, there is a saying in Gujarati and Hindi. It's called Ghar ki murgi dal barabar.
Absolutely.
So even though we have achieved so much within our space, within our region, a lot of times we are treated as the insiders, or ghar wale hai, that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
I know what you're coming to. Yeah.
And we realize that we have been around the world. We have done so many shows. We have been to the UK also and done shows over there. What we have realized is that what really still is there in Gujarati people's mind is that you could say that sense of affinity towards Bollywood content is more than our regional content.
Agreed. Agreed.
Right? So we want to create that affinity in the national space. And then when we do something, so if you see a Paresh Rawal today doing a Gujarati movie, it would be more alluring for the Gujarati audience than the other way around. If it was Paresh Rawal doing, so best case scenario is Pratik Gandhi. He always did
Absolutely.
Gujarati films. When he was
Hmm.
doing Gujarati films, and that's where we learned our lesson from, actually, is from Pratik Gandhi. Because Pratik Gandhi, a lot of times, me and Niren Bhai, one of my closest friends from the Gujarati film industry, is an amazing writer and a lyricist. We used to talk that Gujarati industry, does it really, deserve an acting talent like Pratik Gandhi? And when the Scam 1992 web series happened, is the time everybody realized, oh my God, Pratik Gandhi is so amazing. But nobody noticed it when he did so many good films within,
Agreed.
staying in the Gujarati film industry. So we are not saying that we are going to do groundbreaking stuff when we do Hindi content, but we at least realize that it's a sort of a perception game that we have to gamble
Absolutely.
on. It's a
Absolutely.
perception game that we have to play. Otherwise, things would be a little tricky. So for future, we are definitely heading over to doing Hindi content, at the same point of time expanding our horizons. We have been uh, a sole proprietorship was under Vidya when we started off. Then it was partnership between me and Vidya. Now we are a private limited company, which necessarily means that we want to raise capital as well for our creative startup, the Comedy Factory. Unfortunately, this pandemic situation was there, so we were not able to show the numbers which we wanted to in the last 2 years. But we are hopeful for the next financial year and this financial year as well, because we have worked with brands like Tinder, Have More, Adani, Star Movies, the Star Parivar. So big brands are now going regional as well. uh, Earlier these big brands never used to pursue for regional content, and that to Gujarati, because Gujarati regional content, as I said, is still at a very nascent
Nascent
stage.
stage. Yeah.
So now when we are growing, people are actually capturing those eyeballs, and then people are coming in. A brand, an international brand like a Star or an international brand like a Tinder is seeing that okay, there is a potential in investing in the Gujarati regional space. So we want to capitalize on that. We want to really push the envelope in the digital space, not just on our YouTube or on the free platforms. We want to do a lot of content for different OTT platforms as well, which really puts us as a front runner in not just regional space but in the Hindi space as well. So this is the bigger picture. We want to become recession proof as well, because we always did live shows, and when this pandemic came in, we realized so we had to adapt to the situation. We had to overcome the situation, because 80% of our revenue used to come from doing live shows and creating live IPs like Gujarat Comedy Festival, etc., etc. But when this pandemic happened, we realized that we had to change the amount over. Like we had to depend 20% on live shows and 80% on digital space. So we are really pushing forward in the next 5 years in the digital space. So much so that next time, even the biggest media house of the world wouldn't dare to keep its name Comedy Factory.
That's a good one. But just to end on a note, that my last week's column actually talked about investments in Indian startups and how well they're doing in this current year. And I did mention about a large number of Indian startups going for an IPO this year.
Yeah.
In fact, Nykaa has announced an IPO today. And I'm sure I might soon hear an announcement coming from the Comedy Factory as well. And the next year, or next time I have an interview with you, I'm talking to a listed company, the Comedy Factory.
Well,
And all the best to both of you for all their future plans.
thank you, thank
Sorry.
you. That's ambitious. That's ambitious, very difficult, but not impossible. So hopefully.
Yes, it is achievable. And I'm sure you guys would achieve. Have dreamt it, you lived it, and I'm sure you'll achieve it as well. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Param.